morning. Welcome to Barbecued Mayhem. Today's episode, we're going to talk about knives. And if you're like me, before you knew any better, you had knives stuck in drawers. You had knives that you would use and lay off to the side, clean them with the rest of the dishes, stick them in the dishwasher. Knives that you'd bought here, there, and everywhere. Instead of having a set, they hardly ever got sharpened. They never got honed because you didn't have a honer. And, through this process, I've learned a lot. So this series is the basics, and this is the first episode of the basics. And why are we starting with knives? Because you already have knives in your kitchen. You're probably already using them. So we're going to cover some knives. We're going to cover the breakdown of them, a quick little technique, and then the next episode is going to be knife skills. Okay? How we do certain chops, what certain names are. But today we're going to cover just knives, the components of them, and the basic technique. Alright? We're not going to cut anything for that. The next episode we will, and we'll get in and I'll overload you with information. Okay? First thing, when you do anything, remember the term mesoplays. It means to be prepared or to prep. Okay? So before you get started cooking, before you get started doing anything, before you get started setting up to shoot a video, mesoplay, doing all of the prep work first, is important. But the first knife we're going to get into is a chef knife. Okay? A chef knife is your all, does anything that you need to do. But the important part to realize about a chef knife is it actually breaks down into several parts. Okay? You have a point, which is this first section here. Alright? There's your point. And your fine section of dicing and everything comes from about right here. You have the edge, spline. You have the heel, which is this section back here, the bolster, the tang, and the way that you hold a chef knife is pinching your fingers together. Okay? Take that first knuckle, you lock it in. Take your thumb, you lock it in on the other side. Alright? You're not cutting like this, you're actually cutting at an angle. You're keeping this. If you hold knives like this, like you would see in some horror movie, you really don't have control over it. See, the knife wiggles. It's not an extension of my arm. Okay? But if I lock it in like this, that knife is now secure. Alright? It's an extension of my arm. I'm keeping my feet, you can't see them, but they're actually shoulder width apart. So I have a good base to me, so I'm not, wibbly wobbly. I'm keeping my arms basically at two 45-degree angles. Alright? If you hold the knife in this hand, you're going to claw with the other. Now I'll turn to the side so you can see it. But when I cut, you're going to see me run this knife basically down my finger. Okay? And I'm going to use a method called point to board. I'm going to keep the point to board. I'm going to push away and come back. It's going to be almost like a choo-choo train. The wheels on a train, it's the same motion. Okay? Always use your claw. It pulls your digits out of the way of the blade. This middle finger works as a guide. Okay? This hand sets the length or width of what you're cutting. Moving it. Whether you move it and it goes and you move both hands back, or whether you cut and then push forward, cut and push forward. Whichever technique you use, keep your digits out of the way. Big thing to ask, if I do this wrong, am I going to get cut? Okay, so talked about breaking down the chef's knife. The point. This side up here, this first 2 to 3 inches, and this is an 8-inch, is fine cutting. I can cut small things. I can cut garlic. I can mince garlic. I can do all of that. Point to board. If I'm doing regular chopping, I can use the center body here. Point to board. And if it's something larger, a little bit thicker, a little bit harder to cut, I can use this heel section, come back here next to the bolster. Still using the same method. I'm still doing the same thing, but this has a little bit more weight. I have the ability to add a little bit more force, but I never push my knives. I never force my knives to cut. I let the edge do what it's designed to do and cut through what's going on. Okay? And there's several different types of knives. Okay? So that's a chef knife. The next knife is a Santoku. It also will do anything. I use these knives when I'm working with something that I start off the board. I turn around and I use this knife because when I come across, I don't have that traditional curved blade or curved edge. I've got a straight, so I can come pushing away and come back, pushing away and come back, pushing away and come back. I'm still doing the same railroad train wheel, right? Pushing away and coming back. But this allows me to start at a higher plane. I'm still going to have my claw, and I'm still running down my finger, okay? Still having that edge, right? This is a bread knife, okay? Same thing, but with a bread knife, and if you're using one of the other two knives to cut bread, you start at the heel and pull, okay? So you let the knife cut it as you bring it back. You start out and bring it back. You start at that edge, okay? And that's the way that you do that. And you use the same technique with, like if you're doing onions, or if you're cutting a horizontal, which is the hardest cut, cutting horizontal, but you start at this end and bring the point back to you. Readjust your knife in and point back to you. Okay, but this is a bread knife. Don't saw it back and forth. You'll tear up what you're wanting. You want a long, smooth stroke. This is a utility knife. It is basically a smaller version of your chef knife. Okay, it will do the same thing on a smaller scale. So, and yes, I'm still going to use my claw, but I'm going to curl just a little bit more back. So instead of running that ridge here, I'm running that first knuckle. I'm running that forward knuckle. I'm still using my railroad, okay, but it'll do all the things. So if you're working on a smaller platform, this is a knife that you use. This knife is a paring knife. Now you use it different. All the other knives, edges away, right? With a paring knife, you're actually bringing the edge into your thumb. I don't have a pear or an apple or something, but you move with your thumb, you curl your finger, you bring the blade back into you, okay? Don't go all the way through and cut into your thumb. These are sharp knives. It will happen. Okay, anytime you move a knife, you always put the point down to the ground. You don't move like this. You don't move sideways or anything like that. You move with the knife point down. Traditional steak knife, curved top, coarse end, smooth edge. This set actually comes with a set of shears. I like shears that I can pull apart. So I can separate them, wash both sides, put them back together. But these are a really good, comfortable feel. And they have a bottle opener. Now into honing. With honing, hold it like this, thumb up. All right. You're going to start. If you're getting a high quality set of knives, the edge is going to be an 18 to 20 degree edge. Honing your knives before you start doesn't sharpen the knife. Honing just removes any of the burrs or anything from use and gives you that edge. If you keep your knife honed, you'll have to sharpen it less often, okay? So a couple other things with knives. You have boning knives. I don't have a boning knife that is nice enough for me to put on this video. I've got an old boning knife. It's extremely ugly. It breaks my heart every time I see it, but I still have to use it from time to time. Boning knives are like a regular knife. They have a thinner blade on them, and you use it in a slicing method. Okay, slice into the bone and then edge the bone, make a slice, turn, and you keep going around almost like it is literally a precision instrument to debone a piece of meat. Okay, you have fillet knives, which have a flimsier blade. They're designed to be tipped to board, placed sideways, and then run across. Okay, that's what they're designed for. You have cleavers, which if you've watched the Chopped, the cleaver is what they have into the door frame. All right, it is a massive blade. It is designed. I'm gonna clean my knife off, and the way you clean knives, so you're not putting your hand around the edge. Wash it off, place it on the towel, fold the towel, press down, pull back. Okay. And if you notice, I have two towels. One is to clean my knife, and the other one's to clean the cutting board. So you'll see that next video when we get into cutting techniques. Enjoy this, have fun. This is just to get you familiar with it. You already have knives in your kitchen, but you might not know what knives they are and how to use them. We're going to get into the cutting techniques next. So click somewhere on here to go to the next if it's posted. If you haven't seen the what video of what we're going to do with this series, or the why video of why I started this journey, you can go back to them. They might be somewhere in here. But as always, if you're going through anything, if you're having struggles, if you're having a hard time, remember, Mayhem loves you. God loves you. He'll meet you right where you're at. He'll pull you through whatever it is. Nothing's too big for him. And you have a good day.